Hey, welcome back to Pave the Way podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Greg Helbeck, and today I am with Melissa Johnson from, I thought you were in San Antonio, but I think now after we discussed before we recorded, you're in between San Antonio and Austin, so the Texas area, to say the least.
Yep. All the investing is done in San Antonio, though. So
Okay.
that's
So
my main target.
we'll just say San Antonio for now. So
Yeah, we'll see
Melissa,
San Antonio.
yeah, Melissa's a industry veteran. She's been in the business for what, 16 years now? How long?
16 years.
16 years. So that's it's a long time. She's got a lot of experience, and we're going to talk about a lot of good things today on, what she's doing to find deals and some, just strategies on rehabbing. So really excited to have her on the show. So Melissa, thanks for joining us, and let's get right into it. So before you got into real estate, kind of what was your background and what made you want to get into investing in real estate?
Background was worked for last job I had before doing this full time was working for a defense contractor, kind of just a boring cubicle job. Nothing super exciting. Just a lot of kind of admin sort of positions, things like that, accounting stuff. And then, heard about real estate investing, which I had no knowledge of. I had no background in real estate, nothing. But my father-in-law was doing it and seemed pretty cool. He was traveling around in his RV and just, living a good life. And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sounds like fun. Let's try it. Get out of the cubicle, which it took a while to get out of the cubicle, like 100%, but
yeah. So what is I've heard that term get mentioned before. I do not know what that means. So what's just like the high and dry on defense contracting, just before we move on to the...
It's pretty boring. we were just a company that we had contracts with the government, with the Air Force, and we were providing like software and things like that for them. So.
Oh, okay. So it's not as cool as it sounds.
No, it really wasn't that cool.
Never mind.
But it was a good job. I shouldn't complain.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Yeah, awesome. So how long, so obviously, you said it took a little while for you to then become full-time. So, what did that process kind of look like? When did you know? Because a lot of my listeners are either, full-time investors, or they've maybe done a few deals and they're in your position like you 16 years ago, where you were kind of on the fringe. So like, when did you kind of make the decision to where, hey, I think this makes sense to now go full-time, and it's like a responsible thing to do, and you're not just going to like quit your job and, bank on wholesale fees to pay the bills,
Right. I clearly remember getting a check and looking at it and saying, oh my God, this is my whole year's salary in this one check.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it wasn't very long after that, of course, obviously, right, you don't get all that money and just like put it in your account and go spend it.
No.
Or hopefully you're not, if you're smart.
No.
Most of it goes back into marketing, right?
Yeah.
But just that realization, we were doing it, I was working the job, doing that part-time. And then eventually it just became a thing where, you just lose interest in your job and seeing, the potential there. And once you get a few deals under your belt and it's like, I can really do this, then there's just like a switch that goes, and it's like, okay, well now I know I'm making enough money to know that I will be able to support, we can support ourselves and not have to worry about actually having the job, and getting over that fear of losing your insurance and stuff
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't relate to that because when I'm 24 now, so I got started when I was 20. So like I was in college, so I was like, well, if I start this now and I go broke for 4 years, I got nothing to lose. So like it was a little different, but I know exactly what you're kind of talking about. Like, you have to make sure, like you said, when you have that proof of concept, especially you get a check that large, and you don't go to Vegas, right, for the weekend, and you spend it responsibly, you can kind of see the cause and effect relationship, and okay, if I keep doing this, I'm going to get that. And then you get the confidence. So that's awesome. I'm sure some listeners are really appreciate that tip. So let's fast forward today, and then we'll kind of work backwards from there. So obviously 16 years, it's a long time you've been in business, ton of experience. like up to today, it's 2019. I know you've made some shifts in your business. What does your business kind of look like today from, I guess, a volume perspective? And then we'll go on like an exit strategy perspective.
So volume, the first several years, didn't have a team, it was just my husband and I doing it. And we were doing enough, to survive and to be comfortable. And we weren't pushing for growth or anything like that. It was just like rock and roll, just doing our thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in 2014, we started a software company.
Okay.
And so that kind of caused a shift in the business too, because at that point he took over, running with the software stuff. And shortly after that, I made the decision, it's like, okay, well, you're going to run that. I'll run the house flipping stuff exclusively, but I knew I couldn't do it by myself the way we were doing it because it was just the two of us. And so that's when I started to, hire people because I just, you can't do everything. And I wasn't going to try to. And so at that point, with the hiring and stuff, volume increased for sure, because then I had people out there doing stuff, for me, and it was able to grow that way. So we were able to do a lot more deals with the team. And then I reached a point in about, I'm so bad with dates, but I guess probably about 2017, kind of reanalyzed a lot of stuff and started to really focus on having a better business, because then, by that point it was proven, we've done it all the different ways. We've done many different exit strategies. We have done a lot of deals, but now it's like, how can we do better deals? And maybe we don't need to do as many deals, but we can do really profitable deals. And like, where can we cut? And that's where I like nerding out right there. That's kind of my zone.
I do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I love looking at all the pieces of everything and just trying to figure out how can we be better, not necessarily bigger. And I know there's a lot of people out there that want to build big businesses, and that's great for them. But for me personally, after doing it for so long, as you get older, you want less headache, right? You'll learn this one day, but
I'll learn.
I have kids and, I have hobbies and other things, and the ability to run a better business with less work, so then it became more of, having that smart business versus doing so many deals. I didn't care about how many deals we did. We did less deals last year, but we made more money, and so to me, that was kind of the way I wanted to go. And then as far as exit strategies, just really, I don't do a ton of different exit strategies. That's one of my core values is keep it simple. It's a personal core value, but it's also a company core value for us. And so, I just stick to rehabbing, wholesaling, picking up some long-term stuff here and there, like owner finance notes, creating those, some rentals. And really that's just kind of where I hang out.
That's awesome. You're keeping it simple. I'm glad you talked about the whole, I don't want to do a gajillion deals a year thing. I think it's something I see, and this is why I definitely spend some time on the internet, but I also delete social media and hibernate for a while, because everyone and their cousin's posting about all the volume they're doing and all their revenue they're making. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, I'm sure they're not making as much as they're showing. And like you, I'm the same way. I'd rather do less deals and make more money. Like, instead of asking myself the question, how do I do 100 deals a year? I want to ask myself the question, how do I make $1 million a year? And then what do I need to do in terms of deals to make the $1 million? Because, you know what I mean? I like to think, I'm very similar to you, like in that perspective. Because I used to do all these little mouse deals and I'd make 5-10 grand and I'd be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And then I discovered the whole concept of closing on properties, and I was like 4Xing my profits. And I'm like, wait a minute, all I got to do is just buy the house and I make more money. I don't have to do as many deals. So I really like how you shared that. So backing it up a second. So you said you're rehabbing and wholesaling. Are you doing any of the thing that's popular in today's market, just the close and list on the MLS, or are you either going to take it full retail or assign it?
Yeah, I try not to close anything. So there was a weird time let's see, it was early last year, 2018. They changed a bunch of stuff with the Texas property code. And so it made it difficult with the title company I was working with at the time. And they weren't doing assignments. And so I was having to double close everything. Yeah, it was terrible. And it was kind of an emergency because they just, like, I know now that they were being bought out by another title company.
Yeah.
And so they were, you know, analyzing everything. So, you know, they were just cutting us off. But I had all these deals in the pipeline with them already. And I think I had like, excuse me, I think I had like 5 or 6 deals, right? And I'm like, crap,
Yeah.
I can't assign these. Now I have to close them, you know, so I'm scrambling around trying to get funding and stuff.
Yeah.
And it cost so much money but you know, I had already committed to buy these deals, you know, and I didn't want to back out. And so, yeah, it was a mad scramble, you know, to be able to do that. But then I decided after that, it's like, okay, well, we need to find another title company because I'm not double closing anything anymore. And it's too much. The cost is too much. It costs when you're listing it, it costs when you're buying it, and when you're selling it again. And, you know, we were able to figure out a way and find another company, and we had to change a bunch of stuff in our contract, you know, to have the wording correct, and the way we were marketing it had to be changed up. So we had to change a lot of processes to be able to do assignments again. But I way prefer assigning than closing any. The only time I'll close something.
No, I said I was just, so you said the only time you close something is what?
Now, if it's a wholesale deal, the only time I'll close it if it's a big spread.
Yeah.
You know, and there could be an issue of, you know, I want to make sure I'm not going to lose that deal. Then I'll close.
Yeah. That's funny. It's like the buyers, they say they don't care until they see your assignment fee, and then they start counting your money, and you're like, I thought you didn't care, pal. Now I'm either going to buy this or double close it with you. And then we never sell to them again. They take a hike because they're counting our money, and we don't want to do business with people like that.
Right.
So that's awesome. It's funny you said that. I'm starting to realize the hard way. You have much more experience than I do. The business of marketing for deals and assigning compared to the business of taking properties down and rehabbing and dealing with the town and the city, they're two completely different businesses. And I'm getting a crash course in that right now with some of these projects I have going on. So anyhow, yeah, that's a whole nother show. So what are you doing? I mean, you're in San Antonio. It's obviously a competitive market. So what are you and your team doing to find some of your deals now? Because a lot of people are cold calling now, they're direct mailing, and, you know, I'm sure they're still working, but what are you guys doing that's working that you wouldn't mind sharing with the listeners?
Sure. So most of what we do is online.
Okay.
I'm a big online lead gen kind of girl. Just because a few reasons. Main one being, you know, when people find you, when they're coming to you online, they're looking for you. You know, they're motivated already. You're not just like filling out all the direct mail postcards to a bunch of people who's probably throwing it in the trash, honestly.
Yeah.
So I feel like being very direct, like targeted with that is good, you know, so they are searching for us. They're finding us, you know, online. Lucky for us, we've had a website for a really long time before most people had a website. This is another benefit of just being in the business for a long time. So our website, you know, does really well, you know, ranks really high. We've put a lot of work into that to make that happen, but also supplementing that with PPC. We've done some Facebook marketing. And then, so that's my number one source. But what I've been noticing a lot lately, especially in the past like 6 months, is we've been getting more and more referrals.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. We've been getting a lot of referrals and a lot from follow-up. Having a really good follow-up system is key, because when you think about it, we spend so much money on marketing, and that's money that you've spent already. And so if you just let those leads die somewhere, you know, then you've just wasted a bunch of money. But, you know, I'm a firm believer in squeezing every dollar out of those leads. Like, we paid for that, we're going to work that thing till it's dead.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. These are follow-ups off of your online leads that you already generated, or are these follow-ups just from like years and years and years of different campaigns?
Yeah, from every campaign.
Okay. Yeah, the fortunes and I couldn't agree with you more on that. And I have a quick story to share on the follow-up because I tell people all the time, like, getting the lead is one thing, but usually the deals, at least the really good deals for me, are like on the follow-up because now I have no competition because I'm the only dude they're talking to, or my assistant's the only one they're talking to. We had a deal, it came in off direct mail. It was like 2.5 years ago, I think. And the lady was motivated, but she did not want to sell right now. So I just followed up with her and her son for 2 years. And when she decided to sell me the house, it was the easiest sale ever. I walked in their living room. We did the deal. We closed on it. We did well on it. But there was no other investor breathing down my neck because I already built that relationship with her over 2 years. And she knew I was a trustworthy person because I kept calling her every month and just offering value. Can I help you? Can we help you move? And by the time she was ready to make her mind up, I mean, my goodness, it was an easy decision for her to make. So I'm sure you see that all the time with some of your leads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the longest follow-up we ever had that we bought a house, it was like 5 years.
I mean, I was in middle school 5 years ago. Not kidding. That was a while ago. Taking my SAT. Yeah.
It was crazy. But, staying with those people and just being in the front of their mind, when they do make that decision, you're going to be the first person they contact because you've been in touch with them all that time.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. And it's where like everyone, especially like I do deals in Dallas and it's super competitive. And it's like our best deals, even on like we do more of the vacant houses in Dallas and skip tracing stuff. But like even those properties, most of those sellers, I mean, online leads are different because they're searching out you and there's a little bit more urgency there. But when you're doing like a lot of direct marketing, like what I do, it's like, yeah, you're going to get some people who are going to raise their hand and say, let's do it right now. But the best deals we're closing where we don't have to deal with competition is, they got my text or my call 7 months ago and they finally, oh, are you Greg? You're the guy who's been trying to reach me? Oh yeah, I want to sell now. And now all of a sudden we're doing the deal with them and there's no other investors breathing down their neck. So quick question on SEO. This is my one objection I've always had to SEO. And I don't know if it's even a real objection or not. It's just kind of the way I'm thinking because I kind of like play devil's advocate all the time. An SEO situation, because I got a buddy who's big into SEO. Do you see a lot of the time, because they're going out and they're searching you, are they also getting 5 other investors? Because Google's going to have like 5 buyers, whether it's SEO or PPC. So do you see that happen a lot on SEO, or a lot of the times the first person that answers the phone, they kind of put everyone to the back burner and then they deal with the person who answered first? Just that was my kind of objection with SEO. It seems like there's always other buyers for that.
There can be, but what you said right there is the absolute key. That is the key. You have to answer your phone.
It's a crazy idea, I know.
I know, it's crazy, right? Why would I answer my phone? It's crazy.
Yeah. But
we hear it all the time. Seriously, there was my acquisitions person just told me the other day that a call came in, or it was a lead that came in. He contacted them because that's part of our process. It's like if a lead comes in, you have to contact them within an X amount of time because otherwise they're on to the next one,
Of course, yeah.
And so if they're not calling from the from SEO, if they're just clicking, going to the site, submitting their information, then we get the text with the lead. You have to call them right away. So he told me, he said, yeah, this person called and they said that they had called like 3 other people and we were the first ones that actually responded. And so that if you can get yourself ranked at the top and be responsive, that just increases your odds tremendously, I think.
Yeah. No,
got to answer.
Yeah, actually picking the telephone up when it rings. It's a crazy concept, or responding to the email, inquiry or whatever. It's amazing what happens. So, and it's funny because you got to think, it's almost like thinking of like consumer behavior. Like, I just moved from my one place in San Diego to a new townhouse, and I was a motivated prospect to get a moving service to move me because I'm lazy. So I went on SEO. I did all this calling all these companies. No one would answer the phone. The first dude to answer got my business. And I was like, cool. It's the same thing with real estate. It's the same thing. It's how humans make decisions. People want immediate gratification. They don't want to wait around, especially when they're motivated to sell a house. So That's awesome. I really think a lot of listeners are getting value from this just with the follow-up perspective alone. So besides the referrals, so are you doing any direct marketing, or is it all SEO based and just referral based?
I am doing some direct marketing, but I do very targeted stuff. So to me, it's just smarter. Again, that whole, I'm not going to waste a bunch of money mailing to people that I know aren't going to respond. I'm going after like exactly what I want, and it's very, very targeted.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. The whole list stacking thing, at least for me, it's been very helpful. If you're on one list, maybe you're motivated. If you're on 6 lists, you might be open to selling the house. At least it's going to be a more productive conversation. So,
right.
As we kind of wind down the back half of the show here, I don't do this as much anymore on my shows. When I launched the show, I would do it a lot, but I kind of missed the segment of the show. Let's get into your best deal ever and then your worst deal ever, and then we'll wrap it up with some contact information. So if you could recall, I know you've probably done thousands of deals by now. If you think back to your best ever deal, like what, because there's always those home runs that come along once in a while. Would you mind sharing with the listeners your best deal ever? I love this because some of the new investors, they can see what's possible from other people, and then they encourages them to go out and take more action.
Best deal ever. Oof.
Like just profit wise. Like I love those stories because it gets me motivated too, to keep scrapping,
Let's see. I mean, I did have a really good one actually just a month ago.
Do it.
That's the most recent best deal I could think of, but man, I wish I had specific numbers, but I think we bought it for like 220 something, maybe 220. And I should preface this by saying that is not my normal zone where I buy.
That seems expensive for San Antonio. 220.
Yeah. It was a lakefront property.
Okay.
But my typical buying criteria, I'm buying houses. My favorites is like ARVs between like 120 to 199. So that's my zone. Yeah. So this is kind of an outlier, but it was a great deal. So bought it for like 220, I think. And we sold it for like 350 something, I think. It was more than that actually.
Did you hold it or did you take it down and flip it?
It was a very light rehab. The house already had been mostly rehabbed, so all I did was paint the kitchen cabinets. I know it was crazy. And I redid one of the bathrooms, just put new flooring in, and a new tub surround, and I painted the vanity. I think and painted the walls, like just interior paint. That was it.
And then you sold it for a 6-figure gross profit. That's unbelievable.
Yes. Yeah. So
I wish they were all like that. I wish they were all like that. It's funny.
Those are the good deals, as far, and that was a good rehab deal. And then a good wholesale deal, we've done a couple that, over 50, a little over 50, just like straight up wholesale, didn't touch it.
That's in San Antonio. That's pretty freaking good. I mean, 50K. I mean, where were you getting a house for like 20 and selling it for like 70, or was it the other way around?
I find that in my market, at least, those kind of deals work better with neighborhoods that are being gentrified, like those kind of things where people are paying crazy amounts for stuff because they're wanting to be in a particular area.
Yeah.
So I feel like those only work in certain places, but that's where knowing your market is just so key, because if like that's a super hot area and I know that I'm getting this thing for a ridiculous price because like they really don't know what the value is of what they have maybe, or they're so desperate to get rid of it. And I'm still even surprised running comps, like how much stuff sells for.
Yeah.
So, that was a good deal.
That sounds like the whole market of Austin. When I did my one deal down there, it was like everything sells like this in 2 seconds. Yeah. And oh my God, what's going on down here? So anyway, so we started with the good. We'll end with the bad. So I know you have a lot of experience. So I'm sure there's been many I guess bad properties, the hiccups every once in a while. So if you could recall one rehab deal, it doesn't have to be a complete nightmare, but just a deal that maybe didn't taste too good going down, and then some of the lessons you could share so the listeners can all benefit from it.
I feel like you get one of those every year.
Yeah, it's like the annual hailstorm, I call it.
Yeah, I always call it, well, I shouldn't say what I call it because I don't want to get beeped out, but the nightmare house, right? You get the one.
Yeah.
I can think of actually two because they were completely different scenarios. One of them was it was going to be a wholesale deal. So we picked it up for a great price, and it seemed like a no-brainer, right? The price was great. Didn't need any work really, just figured we'd clean it up, put it on the market. It was in a great area, gated neighborhood, backed up to a green belt, just, great house.
What's a green belt?
Where it's like there's just like and there's nothing behind it.
Oh, okay.
And so picked that thing up, cleaned it up, did all the stuff, put some new carpet in because it smelled like a dog. And that was really it. And it wasn't even the whole house carpet. It was like a bedroom or two.
Sure.
Put it on the market, and it sat and it sat and it sat. And we had no showings. And
that's scary.
Yeah. And we always try to make sure we're conscious of how we're pricing things too. We don't want to be at the top of the price level. We're always a little under everything else just so we can move it quickly, because I'm a big believer in that. Like, just move it fast. And it wasn't moving. And I was getting to a point where we dropping the price and like still not moving. And it's like, crap. So I staged it, which I normally do anyway, but I didn't stage this one because I didn't have any furniture. They were in other properties that I was doing. So I moved a bunch of furniture, staged it, retook all the pictures, still didn't get any action on it. I mean, no offers, nothing. And it was a higher priced house too. And so I had that thing for a year.
Did you have hard money on this thing, or how did you finance this? Because that's where I start getting scared with the financing. Yeah. I start making respect. I start getting pissed quick.
Yeah. And that never happened. We never hold properties for that long.
For a year. Yeah.
Not moving. And I was using private money, thank God. But we just, couldn't figure out what was going on with this thing. And so my realtor told me that she was actually getting calls from other realtors in the neighborhood with properties for sale asking, are you getting action on yours? We're not getting action on ours. Well, nobody was in that whole neighborhood. And so all the realtors got together and did like this big open house tour thing, where all of us with these houses that wouldn't sell.
Nothing selling. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just bring a bunch of people in here and try to sell something.
Yeah.
And, but what we finally ended up selling it, thank God. But I think that's part of, because the market was changing a little bit at that time. But what I found out, and the thing that I didn't think about at that time, was when we bought it, everything looked great. Right, like the days on market were low. We bought it for the right price. And that was the only thing that saved our butts, was that we had bought it so cheap that although we had to hold it for a year, I still didn't lose money at the end.
Yeah.
Didn't make hardly any money, but I didn't lose any money. Yeah. But the lesson learned there was I didn't know that there was a bunch of new construction going on not too far away. And I didn't take that into consideration when we bought it. And so what was happening was, obviously people could go buy a brand new house and have their incentives and, all that kind of stuff.
And all that fancy stuff. Yeah. Down the street.
Yeah.
Buy the house that's been freaking built since the 60s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a valuable lesson learned on that one.
Yeah, I'm sure it didn't taste too good going down, but now you're thinking back, you're like, oh, the builders, I'm sure those houses were like, the new construction was probably comparable to these properties you were selling, because sometimes you see these big, massive, houses, and then there's, the 3.2s and stuff, but I bet you they were similar. I don't know Texas as well as you do, obviously, but yeah, that can definitely throw some things off. So awesome. Is this thing still good? My internet's been freezing, so, it's freezing a bit. Sorry here. I think we're good. Stupid New York internet. Anyway. Awesome. Listen, you've provided a lot of value. I really, I enjoy you coming on the show. So I know you have a new thing that I think you launched. I think was it a Mastermind or something? I know while we were chatting about it, I want to see if you could just share, if the listeners wanted to find out more about how to get in touch with you, maybe the group you started, any way that we can add value to you, I'd be happy to chat about it.
Oh, thank you. So for me, we do the Flipping Junky podcast.
Sure.
So flippingjunky.com is where you can find that. We also have a Flipping Junky group on Facebook, and I'm pretty active in there answering questions and stuff like that for the members. And then recently, the big news, starting a Mastermind with Don Costa and Mike Halper and Ryan Scalaba out of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool because it's 4 of us. We're all, so I'm South, Don's in California, Mike's up in Michigan, Ryan's in Pennsylvania, and we're getting together, just creating a new mastermind group, and super excited about that.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to find out more about that, you can go to fliptalk.com/apply and get some more information about that. We're trying to do something a little different. It's going to be fun, lots of value there. I'm really excited because I love helping people with their businesses. I get a lot of people that reach out and they want help, or they have questions, they want to talk, they want to pick my brain.
Oh my God, those messages and emails, it's like you appreciate them, then it's like, you know what, if I spent my whole time responding to these messages, my business will go down, so it's like that happy medium.
It is, and I totally appreciate it. Like, I love when people reach out to me because I feel so grateful and happy to be where I'm at, to be in a position to do that. I love to give back. And so with the Mastermind, I think it's a super cool opportunity to do that on a larger scale, instead of just me one-offing stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing events all over the country. So that's cool. The first one is actually in San Antonio in November.
Look at that. Okay. Right in your backyard.
I know. I'm not going to say I wasn't pushing for that, but.
That's funny. So I'll put that in the show notes if people are interested in that. I'll put the link in there and they can reach out and find out how to get involved in that. And it's funny, you said it's in the first one's in your market. Like, I went on this little travel spree like a year ago, and I thought traveling was super cool. And then I started doing it, and I was like, man, this gets old really quick. And now I'm like, I kind of want to stay back and hang out in San Diego or be in New York. But definitely appreciate you sharing that. I'm sure some people will definitely be interested. So, Melissa, thank you so much for taking your valuable time and coming on the show, and really appreciate having you on. It was fun.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And thank you for your podcast. I like all your book reviews. They're awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Books that I've read that you're reading that I have loved. So
yeah. It's funny, those book reviews. I've always been a pretty big reader since I got started. And like, I don't know how I came up with the idea. Maybe I was at a bar with my buddies one night or something. And like, I was like, I should start making these reviews or something and put them on the internet and see what happens. And I've been doing them every week for over a year now. And I've gotten so many messages and people like, oh, I read that book. It changed my life. And like, you don't think making a 2-minute video that takes 5 minutes on a Saturday morning could help somebody. But then when you get that response, it's like that feedback loop fires and you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. And like, I'm just kind of spending 10 minutes doing this. What if I spent more time doing stuff like this? So that's actually what started this podcast. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.